Welcome, my noble lords and ladies, once more to this chamber, and thank you for making the journey to provide your words to this council. And may I say, it is with a great regret that two of our seats lie empty this day. Now, to the order of business.
My apologies for interjecting, your lordship, but I must ask, why are we joined by no representative of Val? I understand the Lady Jessica's predicament, and we all wish for her speedy return, but Avalmi's representative should be here, yes?
Your concerns are noted, and we too pray for Lady Jessica's return. The Valmese consul is remaining within their embassy, and shall do so henceforth. This urgent meeting is due to Valme's actions after all, and maybe too impassioned with her presence.
But, my lord, what of diplomacy? Surely for it to work, all involved must be party to it. That is not so?
I think that Varm has had more than enough chances to be diplomatic, steward.
Hear, hear.
I assure you that the Valmese official will have their say in the proper fashion, but here and now we are gathered, and I hope that will suffice. Now, to the matter at hand. Varm has rallied for war and sees fit to take control of the continent. I am aware from communication with you all that this is known, having all received declaration from Varm itself. Lady Melentus, would you please update us on how things currently stand? Thank you, your lordship. We understand that Varm has been building its forces over the past year in secret, utilising the wastes to the north to remain undetected. At the same time, they have planted agents across the continent to gather information and destabilise regions ready for subjugation. Already, this can be seen within the forests of Mephelion, where overnight Varm seized control, providing the springboard to advance on Permarith. This has, sadly, cut off any access north, with the status of the city of Nova currently unknown, but we can only assume that Varm moves on them as well. Given the interference in the events leading to Unity's destruction, we predict that their next move shall be further along the coast, attempting to cross the Grand River and capture Wallowdale.
This cannot be allowed to happen. We have been doing our best to hold them off, but it is not a plan of action we can maintain without wider support from other provinces. We are already taking casualties which grow in number each day. Even before this conflict began, we lost much in the devastation of Unity. I imperatively ask you that you lend your aid and recognize the sacrifices Wallowdale has already made on the continent's behalf in stymieing this conflict.
We indeed recognise those sacrifices, Lord Ariax, both of your citizens and your family, and we thank you for your fortitude as always. The border with Varm is long though, and many are at peril of invasion, so we are all stretched thinner than we would like. We stand here in Ware, a stone's throw from the plains of Varm, so please, do not think I do not recognise your plight.
Thank you for your support, Arterion, but with all due respect, the situation cannot be allowed to grow in severity. Ware possesses greater strength than Wallowdale, even with this current conflict aside, and the Valmese do not darken your door as they do ours. I implore you that without assistance, our cities will soon be flying the flag of Valm.
I hear your plight, Ariax, and I would not wish to see your citizens under Valmese rule. I will see it done that Ostian shields stand along the bastion of Wallowdale's walls, along with one of my advisors, to help with matters further.
Your support is much appreciated, Hector. I will see the barracks are fully prepared for their arrival. Considering the nature of our plight, gaining as much support as we can would not be a miscalculation. Have we considered reaching out to the dwarves for their assistance in this matter?
Indeed. We have already received a delegation from the Stoneshard Mines offering their aid, as one of their elders witnessed firsthand the Valmese ultimatum at Forgrana. The dwarves are a proud people, and these settlements, as well as the wider Fulrum hordes, have pledged to continue supplying us with materials and defending these shipments as a priority. The dwarves also came to our aid in Talabheim, honouring the old pacts. They fought bravely, and they gave much, so I am reluctant to ask them for further contribution. What of Zafari and the populace there? I know it's not a traditional hold, but knowing of their mood would be beneficial.
The Safari presently have little interest in this conflict, Lord Hector.
Then perhaps we should send a word to Zafari then, see whether they would help. What of the elves? I understand many have fled to Wallowdale and to Tregan Maris to escape Varm. Does this sentiment carry across the continent as well?
Many of the elves have arrived in Wallowdale safely. However, many of them are refugees and require aid. I hardly think we can ask them to take up arms and help us in this matter. If I may, my lord, We would be hesitant to ask the elves for assistance when numbers of them have raided our farms and villages as of recent. Caerleon's towns were the last to deal with this intrusion.
I find myself agreeing. For years, opportunists from Shadowly have darkened our southern border, and the forests of Ilmore are notoriously reclusive. Even those of Asilmas, while open to trade, they refuse to lend their aid to Talabheim when they have the most to gain from its security. The elves will not rally to our banner. Might I suggest, Hector, that your brand of personal diplomacy is perhaps too direct for the elves? I have always found them agreeable when the terms are right, and I'm sure the fall of Mephalion is of great concern to all. I am also surprised to hear raiders venturing into the southern dukedoms. From what I understood, it was marauding pillagers from Wyvern Ridge that had caused damage to Caerleon's towns.
With all due respect, the southern dukedoms are sadly more troubled than they seem, my lady. The pillagers' actions appear to have given the elves a guise to cover their tracks. I hope this information will help complete your reports.
Yes, we'll see, I'm sure.
With my initial updates conveyed, let us move to the next matter, the whereabouts of my sister.
Yes, the whereabouts of Lady Jessica are sadly unconfirmed, Arax, with varying reports from different locations. Trying to piece them together is proving challenging, but please be assured that I have assigned special attention to the safe return of your sister.
Although our reach is somewhat limited, should any rumour of Lady Jessica entering our borders come to my attention, I can assure you these will be investigated with a careful hand and the utmost priority. While I appreciate your efforts, the only way to secure my sister's safety is to march on Valm itself. This is a course of action we should be considering more seriously. We should be preparing as we speak.
Well said! While I understand your urgency, Arax, and sympathise with your position, the fact is that Varm has been preparing for this war for over a year. We do not have the manpower available to throw at the walls of Varm an ill-thought-out attack.
Then isn't it time for us to take up initiative and start planning? Aren't Ostia supposed to have the finest military? Aren't Treg and Maris's mages from the Grand University itself? What use is a Council of Lords if we cannot act in a time of need? Are we to be idle and let the Valmese subjugate us one by one? The longer we sit by, the more they gain the advantage.
And rushing into reckless assaults on one of the most fortified cities in all of Valoria is a guaranteed way to never see your sister again. Arax, we have had many feasts together, and I hold you in highest of respect, but you are letting your emotions rule you. You should know we do not have the capability at this moment for open warfare, and the ruin it would bring on our people should we try is too stark to risk. What's more, you know the dangers of asking mages to fight. Do you want a home for your sister to return to or not?
I wish to see my sister return home. I would give anything to see it. If I may, to make sure we are all covering ground during this meeting, may we discuss the fate of Nova as our next point?
Yes, a good suggestion. While an independent state, it would be my sincerest wish to reach Nova in this time. Sadly, with Farm's advances, we find ourselves cut off and unable to realistically offer this aid that we would so desire. What about by sea? Wolfwater has ships that could be of use, surely?
In the same vein as what Lord Arterion spoke of earlier, conserving our strengths and not acting on impulse for our own preservation seems like an informed decision at present. Whilst Wolfwater may have ships to spare, it would not be wise of them to spare all they have for the cause. It must serve its own people first and foremost. Those Wolfwater folk are nothing but self-serving scumbags. How can you afford to be so selfish at a time when your service is needed most? If we may keep our emotions in check and set unfounded accusations aside, Lord Oriax, as a man who has experienced the fall of one of his joint cities as well as the disappearance of his sister, could you not forgive me some caution? Can we, as a council, afford any more losses made more prone by the impulsiveness of some of our members? May I remind you that I represent the entirety of the southern dukedoms and not a single city alone. I am less at liberty to commit assets on their behalf.
While that is true, and we understand you cannot pledge entire fleets, some clarity on what it is Wolfwater's ships have been doing would be greatly welcome, Steward. There are rumours, after all, of voyages in the dead of night, of black sails and darkened torches making their way along the coast to destinations unknown. What's this? Steward, please tell the council you have some explanation for these strange activities of which we're now hearing.
I assure you, Lord Hector, we have heard these rumours ourselves and share your concerns. These individuals are not associated with Wolfwater and do not represent our best interests. I will make sure these matters are voiced as a priority when I report back to Wolfwater, for all of our peace of mind, of course.
See what you do. I don't want this left unseen for the next steward to pick up on their appointment. Speaking of actions that need taking quickly, the town of Fortune. Arterian, you know my feelings on this topic, my friend, but I must press you again. Now, of all times, surely you must see the danger that this ungoverned venture represents. I must second Hector's view here, Arterian. It is a grand ideal to hope the town of Fortune would remain neutral, but the arrangement as it stands must be changed. The range of materials and weapons on offer there is bad enough, but the information they have is too much to risk letting Varm have free access to. It must be brought under our watch, or embargoed temporarily while this conflict is underway. I hear your concerns, friends, I truly do, as they are troubles that have crossed my mind also. The agreement with the town of Fortune to act as a hub of trade between the cities, the Dwarven Holds, and the Elven Glades, open for all with no restriction or singular rule, was one that was made many generations ago. To disrupt this now, in the face of Valmir's aggression, risks not only alienating our neighbours and potential allies, but also undermining the sanctity of our word. If our word counts for naught, what really do we stand for? In that scenario, our governance and diplomacy has truly failed.
Well said, my lord. I know that the southern dukedoms have all profited from the town's prosperity at one point or another, and to see it close would be a great loss to our people. We must acknowledge the benefit that the town of Fortune has been to us all. To lose it now would surely put us at a disadvantage in the coming conflict.
If that is your decision, Arterian, I shall not deter us further here. But do expect that we shall talk more privately regarding my thoughts on your optimism. As Hector says, I will defer to your judgment, but in the meantime there is news to bring to everyone's attention. Some of Tregon Maris' scouts and allies have informed me that throughout the south of Valoria, small groups of Valmese have been identified moving throughout the countryside. They appear to be lightly armed, potentially mages or some other forward scouting groups, but their motives remain unknown. Given recent events and the apparent propensity of Varm to sow dissent through highly specialized agents, we should all be on guard and show extra care to unknown visitors to our lands. I have instructed that any details coming to light of noteworthy cases should be sent to you all immediately, but we can't allow ourselves to be complacent just because the front lines are not across our provinces.
Thank you, Lady Melentus. Should your scouts find anything in relation to my sister, I trust you will make it a priority to inform me with haste.
Without question, my friend, we all wish for Jessica's safe return. Thank you for those updates, Lady Melentus. I'm sure we shall all raise our guard. Unless there are any further matters, I shall now be calling this meeting of the Council to its conclusion. No? Well, in that case, I thank you again, esteemed lords, ladies, and representatives of the realm. Your contributions and continued efforts towards the safety of all peoples of Valoria is commendable, and together we shall make a more just tomorrow. As always, feel free to convene and gather within the diplomatic quarter, where a feast is being prepared as is customary, which I hope you shall all join me for later this evening.